So let's start with new topic called as CSS3. New topic CSS3, and we would be come back to HTML5 once again. Let us understand the fundamentals of CSS3, and then it would be fun for learning HTML5 and CSS3 together. Correct? Okay. So here, what do you mean by CSS3? Can you tell me? What is CSS? First tell me what is CSS. So when you say CSS, what exactly you are meaning to say? Well, have you created the calculator? Hello? So I have asked you to create the calculator.
Yes.
Have you done that?
Yes.
Okay. So what is CSS3? That's the question. What is CSS3? Or just CSS first. And then we will talk about CSS3. It's like HTML5 only. So first we need to understand what is cascading style sheet. What do you mean by cascading style sheets? Say that again.
In this CSS, I can do style, bold.
So are you reading the document or not? Have you read this document or not? So here I have written something about HTML. Here I have written something about CSS. So I just expect you to say this thing. So if you remember about the HTML5, I have said something. It is about the structuring, and CSS is all about controlling their appearance, layout and behavior. So have you read this page or not? In the roadmap, we have discussed what do you mean by HTML5, and we have discussed what is CSS3. So structuring, can you see how to structure the web page? So this is important. And appearance, how to control the appearance, layout and behavior. This is the responsibility of CSS3. This is the responsibility of what? CSS3. So whenever you talk about CSS, it is nothing but what? Cascading style sheets. CSS stands for cascading style sheets. See here. What is CSS3? We will talk later on. But CSS stands for cascading style sheets. It is a style sheet language used for describing the presentation and formatting of the document written in the HTML. Right? Or the XML. Just forget about this part, XML. I'm deleting this. In the simpler term, CSS is used to control how web pages and other structured documents displayed on the different devices and the screen sizes. It is all about display. So let's try to understand first meaning of each word. What is cascading style sheets? What do you mean by? What do you mean by? What is cascading style sheet? H1. What is the meaning of each and every word? What is each word? What each word means? Cascading. So first is what? Cascading. So what do you mean by? What do you mean by cascading? So when you talk about cascading in the context of the CSS, so remember that what is the CSS? So this is your input. So this is your input box. This is your input box. And what I need to do, if I, or you can say I want to give some border, I want to do some border color. So I want to give some border color. So how do you do that? That can be done by means of CSS. Or I want to give some background color. How do you do that? That can be done by means of CSS. Here I can say background color. Background color. Example I am giving you. Background color. Border. Background color. Border. Can be given, or etc. Can be given by means of CSS, or you can say by means of, in other words, styles. In other words, what? Styles. Now, what do you mean by this cascading? So we discuss what do you mean by style. So if I want to give some border to this input box, there is something called as style. We need to use a predefined style. We'll see that, no problem. But what do you mean by cascading style? So H3 style, H3 sheets. What do you mean by sheets? What do you mean by cascading? What do you mean by style? What do you mean by sheets? So we need to understand these three things. So when you talk about the cascading, so the way you apply the styles. So in the context of CSS, cascading refers to the way styles are applied to the elements on the web page, right? When multiple styles conflict or overlap, the cascade defines, see, to one element. When multiple styles conflict or overlap, the cascade determines which style takes the precedence, right? CSS rules can come from the various sources such as inline styles. See now, so this is very important. Now see, CSS rules can come from various sources such as inline styles, embedded styles, and the external styles. CSS rules can come from the various sources such as inline, embedded, and the external. We are going to see that. Cascading style sheet, right? See, what do you mean by cascading? When multiple style conflict or overlap, the cascade determine which style takes the precedence. Am I audible? Hello?
Yes.
So what we are trying to understand here, what do you mean by cascading? To one element, I'm going to write code for this. Don't worry. I'm going to write everything in a code. So whenever multiple style conflict or overlap, cascade defines which style takes the precedence. Right? Now see, these styles come from the various sources such as inline styles, embedded styles, and the external styles. Okay. So CSS rules come from the various things. The cascade ensures that, now see, the cascade ensures that conflicting styles are resolved in a specific order, allowing developers to control how styles are inherited and overridden. How styles are inherited and overridden. So when you say cascading, you can say that it is a conflict or it is a conflict resolution. Cascade determines which style takes the precedence. What do you mean by cascading? The meaning of the cascading is that one element, say input box, to this input box you can apply the style from inline source, embedded source, and the external source. Say I'm repeating it again. This is the input box. So style to this input box can be applied from the various sources. But browser gets confused. What shall I follow? This one, or this one? This one, or this one? Are you understanding this? Hello? So what shall I follow exactly? Browser says that what shall I follow exactly? So this can be resolved by means of the cascade. This can be resolved by means of what? Cascade. Okay. And that's why cascading comes into the picture. For resolving which style to apply is decided by cascade. Is it clear? So I'm getting some noise from your end. Yeah. Now, what do you mean by style? What do you mean by style? Border color, background color. A style in the CSS, you can say style. A style in CSS refers to the visual properties and formatting applied to the HTML elements. Style in CSS refers to visual properties and formatting applied to the HTML elements. This includes, see what style is including. This includes attributes such as colors, fonts, spacing, borders, backgrounds, and positioning. Style defines how elements appear on the screen and or other media. See, styles define how elements appear on the screen or other media, making them visually appealing and consistent across the website. What is style? What is style? Hello? Style refers to visual properties. Can you see this? Visual properties and formatting. Right? This includes colors, examples, fonts, spacing, borders, backgrounds, and positioning. So you are learning CSS, means you are learning how to resolve the conflicts and how to apply these properties, right? Also, style define how elements appear on the screen. If it is a mobile, how it would be appearing. If it is a tablet, how it would be appearing. Who decides this? That is defined by the styles on the screen. So this is very important. And other media means devices, making them visually appealing and consistent across the website. Now, what do you mean by sheets? What do you mean by sheets? So again, so these inline styles, embedded styles, and external styles, these are the sheets. See now, sheets refers to the CSS rules in the separate file. See, sheets refers to the fact that CSS rules are often organized and stored in the separate file called as style sheets. So we are going to create generally. So this is a very good idea that all these properties should be written in the separate file instead of writing in the same HTML file, right? So styles refers to the fact that CSS rules are often organized and stored in a separate files called as style sheets. These sheets can be linked to the multiple web pages. These sheets can be linked to the multiple web pages, allowing developers to maintain a consistent design across entire website. These sheets can be linked to the multiple web pages, allowing developers to maintain the consistent design across entire website. What do you mean by this? Now, this input box is available in index HTML, say contact HTML. Another one we have about us HTML, same input box is there. Then we would be having another HTML, lot of HTMLs we would be having, and same input box we would be having. And we need to apply same style in every page. Are you getting my point? Hello? In the contact also we need to have red border and some background color. In about us page also we need to have this input box with the red border and some background color. So you will write this thing in a separate file. You will write this thing in a separate file and link this file with the other HTMLs and link this file with the other HTMLs. So there are three main types of, so here we can say there are three main types of the style sheets in the CSS: external style sheet, embedded style sheet, and inline style sheet. So let us see what do you mean by external style sheet. So here we can say external, embedded, and inline. External, embedded, and inline. So when you say external, what do you mean by? So these are the standalone files. These are the standalone files, separate files. Remember that. These are the standalone files with the .css extension. You are going to see this. They contain a lot of properties related to CSS. They contain the collections of the CSS rules that can be linked to the multiple web pages. This approach is more recommended. So writing CSS in the different page is most recommended approach. This approach promotes reusability and easy maintenance, as changes made to the external style sheet automatically affect all the pages. For example, this. So this is, so let me remove all the things. Now let's go a little bit properly, and here I can say input input field. Now consider that input field, we need to have one input field. Now consider that this is our input field, right? Hello?
Yes.
This is our input field. And here we can say this is our input field we have. Yeah, this is our input field we have. Now, so this red color and other thing, it is coming from this CSS file. This red color and other thing is coming from this, what we can say, this is a CSS file. So we have written this in a separate CSS file. And we can say external CSS. I can say external CSS. And this is our one index.html, I can say. So this is our index.html, and inside this index.html, this page is there. This input box is there. Can you see that? Hello? So I can say this is a contact. Here we can say contact page. This would be the contact page. And contact page, this would be the about page. Just a minute. Group it. So this is the contact page. This is about page we have. This is services page. This is services page, correct? And all these pages are referring to this external CSS file. All these pages, so this input box is red and same because of this external CSS. Getting my point? External CSS. What do you mean by external CSS? You will write the rule in the external file. Okay? You will write the rules in the external file. Right? That is what the external CSS means. But you can write it. But you can write this inside this page itself. There is a style tag. So what you will create? You will create a style tag. STYLE, style tag. So you will create, instead of writing it into the external, you will create a style tag and add it into the header. And whatever things you have written inside this, instead of writing in a separate CSS, all that things you will write over here. This thing is called as embedded. This thing is called as what? Embedded. Is it clear? What do you mean? I'm going to show you practical. This thing is called as embedded. This thing is called as embedded. So first way, external CSS. Second way, embedded. So let's write it into the notes. Also known as the internal style sheet. These embedded style sheet are also known as the internal style sheet. These are placed in the style tags in the head section of your HTML document. In the head section of the HTML document, embedded styles are specific to the page they are defined in, but offer the separation of the content and the presentation. Right? So here what is happening? You are not doing anything as such in HTML page, but in a head tag, in a HTML page only, you will have a separate section, head tag, and into the head tag you will write this thing. Okay. Now last way, directly writing on this input. So we first you will create input type text. Hello. First you will write input type text. First you will write input type text. First you will write input type text, and onto that tag you will add style attribute. You will add what? Style attribute. And into that style attribute you will write all the things, and this thing is called as inline. This thing is called as what? Inline. So we have seen three ways of writing CSS. First is external, which is the most recommended approach, embedded one in the HTML page only, right? But you will not do anything on the element. You will write everything in a head tag, and inside head tag there would be style tag. Inline, directly on the element. Inline, directly on the element. Correct?
Yes, sir.
So this is nothing but what? This is nothing but your types of CSS. These are nothing but what? Your types of CSS. So let's add types of CSS. Upload the file. External CSS, embedded CSS, style attribute, which is inline CSS. Getting some voice from your end. Okay. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So let's type it then, and then we will see how do you target the elements. Okay. So let's go here. Today is day 6. And in a day 6 now, we can create index.html, or we can say inline.html. First we will see what is HTML, inline HTML, HTML5, and inline CSS. Inline CSS demo. So we will do same thing. Let's add the main tag. What is a main tag? What do you mean by main tag? Hello? Yeah. What do you mean by main tag? Interview question, you can consider this as explain the main tag. Explain the main tag.
It is a semantic of
Correct. It is a semantic tag. What it does? What semantic tag does?
these elements provide better structure and meaning to the content.
It is what?
These elements provide better structure and meaning to the content.
Status structure.
Elements provide better
Correct.
and meaning to the content.
Yeah. Now see, in this way I am going to ask any question in between. Whatever we have learnt, on that part I would be asking a questions to you. Consider that that is the interview type question. Semantic tags are those tags which gives the page semantic, a meaning to that particular area. And main means what? It's the main content of the page. So whenever you say semantic tags, you should give example of other tags also. What are the other semantic tags we have?
Header,
Header, article, section.
nav,
Correct.
footer.
Correct. Yeah. Now look at the screen. So here I can say input type, text area, input type, text area. Or simple text. And let us open this page, reveal it in the Finder, and open with browser. So we are just, I will just try to give, can you see the input box? Hello? Now what I try to give, I want to give a red border. Can you see? Inline tag. So in the HTML, comments are given in this way, inline tags. Comments are given like this. If you want to give a comment, can you see? Less than sign, not, hyphen, space, hyphen, greater than sign. These are the comments. Comments means what? Things which are not considered at the time of interpreting things. So whenever browser will try to show something on the screen from this page, browser will not consider this thing. It will be just for the sake of developers. It would be for the developers. Hello? So whenever developers do something, developers add some informational text, and that informational text is called as what? Comment. It has nothing to do with the rendering. Comments has nothing to do with the rendering. It will not be part of the rendering on the screen. Comments are simple things, informational text for the users or developers, sorry. So whenever you come back on this screen after 1 or 2 years, you need to know what this is exactly. Inline CSS. Okay. So when you talk about inline CSS, go to the doc and see how do you add inline CSS. Inline CSS are added in the way, inline CSS, on the HTML elements, you add the style attribute. So this is the HTML element, agree or not? So we can apply the style attribute over here. What you need to give? Border. Can you see border? And see, first you need to give a width of the border 1 px. So it's a dotted, solid. Can you see dotted, double border, dotted border? Solid means concrete border, and need the color red. First parameter is what? Width. Second parameter, solid, dotted, type of the border and color of the border. Now you go over here and just refresh it. Can you see it becomes red? So this redness has not been provided by the HTML. Remember that. So this redness has been provided by the style. Getting my point? This redness has been provided by style. Which style? This thing is called as border. Border is what? Inline style. Inline style. Same thing we will do in an embedded style now. We can say embedded.html. Same thing I will copy, paste it. So instead of writing style over here, how inline embedded styles work? So in a head tag, we have a style tag, and now to this input box. So now we will see how to select the elements in the next section, but presently I will simply write input, and whatever you have written over there, border 1 px solid red. Input means what? This input box. Now instead of inline, embedded. Can you see again red? Embedded is also what? Red. Correct? Embedded CSS. Now external CSS, we can say external.html. So we would be having a separate CSS file, external.html. Now I'll copy everything. This is embedded CSS demo. External CSS demo. So it won't be having this thing. Also, it won't be having a style tag, nothing. In the HTML page, there won't be anything. And here we can say a separate CSS file. We can say color or call.css. And we need to provide a link to this CSS. Look at the image. Link to this CSS. So this page would be having link to this CSS. How do you have a link? Can you see link rel style sheet, and here we can say col.css. Now see, external.html and the col.css are in the same folder. So you don't need to give a full path over here. Only you need to do what? col.css. Otherwise you need to give full path also. So what you will write in the col.css? Whatever you have written over here, same thing you need to write over here. And here we can say external CSS. So comments in the CSS file are given in this way. Comments in the HTML file are given in this way. Comments in the CSS file are given in this way. Correct? Hello? Hello? So here is a linking with this file. Now just open external.css. Just open external.css. Can you see this external.html? Again, box is red. How this is happening? Because three types of CSS: external CSS, embedded CSS, inline CSS, and we have seen all of them. So let me push CSS, types of CSS, internal, sorry, external, embedded, and inline. I have pushed the code. Just go through the code. Just go through the code and please let me know. You have 2-3 minutes. Done or not? You simply need to go through the pages. So I'm getting some background noise from your end. Once done, write it in the chat box. Done.
No, sir.
Let me know once you complete this. Done. Hello.
I can commit to 1 minute.
Completed or not? No, I'm not understanding what you're saying. Hello. Hello. You will complete on your own or what? Okay. Okay. CSS selectors. Next point is what? CSS selectors. So we have seen the basic things. Now I will create a new page inside this. CSS selectors. Hello? Now, what do you mean by CSS selector? So, what is the CSS selector that is important at the first place? What is CSS selector? So, when you talk about the CSS selector, now let us consider embedded one and the external one. Let us consider what type of CSS? Embedded one and the external ones. CSS selectors. Still we have not seen what is the CSS3. Just wait. Before going to the CSS3, we need to understand a lot of other things first. CSS selectors. So what do you mean by CSS selector? Now consider that either embedded CSS, right? Either embedded CSS, or you can consider this is our HTML page. This is our HTML page, and this is our CSS file, external CSS file. You can relate this with the embedded also. Okay, so here I can say this is a HTML5, HTML page, and this is CSS, external CSS. Now, inside this HTML page, we have 3 input boxes. Inside this input page, we have 3 input boxes. So we have one input box, or we have say one input type text, right? This another we would be having a button, one button, okay, and one paragraph. Input type, who is this? Hello? One paragraph. Am I audible? Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen or not? Yeah. So we have input inside the HTML page. Our HTML page is consisting of these 3 elements, correct? Now, if it is an inline tag, if you write the inline CSS, straight away you will apply the style property here, you will apply style property here, you will apply style property here, right? Style attribute here, here, correct? But you are using the external CSS. So how do you select this input box, this button, or this para into this CSS? What is the way? Or consider that this is you have written it into the embedded CSS. You have written it into the style tag. You have written it into the style tag. So my question is that how exactly you will write it? How exactly you will write it into what you can say in the external CSS or the style tag? Do you understand my concern or not? What I'm saying If it is an HTML page and you are using input button and the para and the inline style, there is no question of selecting it. Agree or not? Right? But you are in an external CSS now. How do you get to know which properties are need to be used for input, or how do you select the input, how do you select the button, how do you select the para into the external CSS? Okay, now we can create a separate file. I can say selector dot or selectors dot CSS, and we can say demo3.html, and here I can say CSS selectors. Getting some noise from your end. CSS selectors. And let's first we will see, let's create the demo 2. Or demo 3, no problem. CSS selectors 1, and here we can say a main tag. Into that there is a one section, or we would be having div tag, one div, second div, third div, and into this we would be having input type text, input type text. We would be having one input, say placeholder, we can say placeholder, and here we can say your name. Then what we are having, button or a paragraph, and we can add something. We can add this thing into the paragraph. And there is a one button. So button can be written in this way also. Button type button, and OK. Now let's go to the day 6 and open demo3.html. Can you see your name, CSS, paragraph, and the OK button? Now if you write inline CSS, so straight away you will write style property, background color, and we can say antique white, and can you see multiple properties would be written like this: border 1px, solid red. To the paragraph also we can write style, border, we can say 3px, dotted blue, 3px dotted blue. And to the button we can say style, background color, and we can say cadet blue. And we need to give a foreground color as white, so simply color and white. So go here, refresh it. Can you see little border is there? Input box, to the input box some border and background color is there, and OK button. You see this thing, right? Now see why inline styles are not recommended. Inline styles are not recommended because, can you see, unwanted data, it is like that HTML should have HTML data. So this thing is unnecessarily adding extra code into your HTML page, right? Correct? So this is little bit, presently only 3 input elements are there, but in the real time you have 300 input elements, you have 300 HTML elements. in the actual, in the production grade systems, you have 300 input elements. At that time, if you go on writing style in this way, everything over here, it would be pretty mess, right? You would be getting jumbled every time because of all these things. So what needs to be done then? Then this some expert came and they said that do not use something like this style. Use it very often, not regular. It is not a good practice. So what we do, we create a new file, demo4.html, demo4.html, and we copy everything from the demo3, right? And instead of writing these styles over here, we don't write it, we don't write it, and we don't write it, because it is not that maintainable. So CSS selectors too. So you have style tag in a head tag, and over here you write something. But as soon as you come over here, you get a question. What if I want to apply properties over this element? What if I want to apply properties over this element? Now see, I'll add one more logic over here. So I'm writing p tag 2 times. Now what I wanted to do, now see, let's try to apply. So to this paragraph, I want to give a dotted blue border. To this paragraph, I want to give dotted red border. Okay. So let's go here and write input. To the input, background color, you can say antique white, and border, we can say 1px solid red. Correct? Now you can go to the demo 4 over here. Simply you can write demo 4. Can you see this is working? Okay. As usual, this is working. Now to the paragraph, what I need to do, to the first paragraph, we need to have a border 2px dotted blue, right? So you'll write something like this, and to the second paragraph again you will write something like this, second paragraph to the red. And now go here, what is expected? So this would be with blue and this would be with red, correct? Refresh it. Can you see both are with the red? Why? This has been overridden. So this property, if you write 2 times p, the second one would be getting considered. Getting my point? So here is a problem. How to select this paragraph and how to select this paragraph separately. So whenever you write the CSS, over here, whenever you write the CSS over here, how do you write a separate things for separate elements? So presently you have 2 p's, and this p is, which means that, however, if you have 10 paragraphs in this HTML page, so this border would be getting applied to the 10 paragraphs, correct? So this thing will not work. We need to have some different logic then. See now both will be blue. Why? Because this p tag is occupying all the p's, all the paragraphs in this HTML. Now how to do this thing? This thing is called as CSS selector. I want to select this, I want to select this, I want to select this. And same thing goes with external CSS also. So let's create the demo 5. I will create a new 5, demo 5. Same problem you will see in the demo 5 also. Just copy this. CSS selector 3. So instead of writing this inside the style tag, and here we can say a demo, new. So here we can say new file, demo4.css, demo4.css, sorry, demo5.css, rename, demo5.css, and let's import it link css, demo5.css. So again you will feel same problem. Instead of demo4, I'm just doing demo5. Can you see everything is getting applied? See, this is the demo5.html, and demo5.html is rendering something like this, which means that this thing is creating, which means that the problem persists. Here also we are not able to select these two p's separately. Okay, now how to do this thing? Let's create the nodes first. So you might be understanding what is a CSS selector now. What is the CSS selector? Let's write it first. A CSS selector is a pattern that is used to select and target the specific HTML elements within a document to apply the styling rules. It determines which elements on the web page should receive the certain styles such as colors, font, spacing, and whatever. CSS selectors play crucial role in separating the presentation from the content, right? Now there are three basic selectors. So here we can say H1. First, you can achieve this thing by means of element selector. You can achieve this thing by means of what? Element selector. So we have written the name of the element, right? Here we have written name of the element. Can you see input is the name of the HTML element? P is the name of the input HTML element, right? Then there is another type, class selector. Class selector. Then there is one type, class selector, ID selector. ID selector. So we have seen this thing. So we need to give a element type. We need to give CSS. We need to give element name and the syntax. So something like this, element name and some syntax. For example, P and color blue. P and what? Color blue. Hello? So here an element selector, see what is the element selector? An element selector targets all instances of the HTML element. We have seen this thing, right? P we have written. P is getting bordered. All the P's are getting bordered, right? That's what the element selectors are. Here all the P's would be having background color as border. Now class selector, this is something now new. We can add code. So syntax would be like this, dot class name. See, dot class name. So we need to create dotted, or we need to have something like this, dot highlight. Background color would be yellow. Can you see dot? Something new has been come in the CSS, dot. So we will see this dot. A class selector targets elements that have the specific class attribute. Let's go here. Instead of talking, do this thing, selectors.css, selectors.css, and we can say new file, selectors.html. Okay, HTML5, CSS selectors, and demo 4. Okay, go to the demo 5. I will copy this as it is, demo 5. Demo 5, and selectors.html, we need to have link rel css, selectors.css. Correct? Now what I need to do, so to this I want to give some background, a color, background color, and we can say, can you see dot bk background and brd, background brd, bk brd, and here I can say background color antique white and border 1px solid red. Can you see that? Now how do you so class selector, whatever elements are attached with this class, now see class and name of the class we need to attach bkbrd. What is happening? So it will go to the CSS file and it will check what are the things to the bkbrd class selector. Now go here, demo, or instead of this selectors.html. Can you see? This is working. This is working. Class selector. Class starts with the dot. Can you see dot? But this dot is not written inside this class. So this is wrong. This will not work. So dot is inside the CSS file. So whatever things which will starts from the dot, whatever are the things that will start from the dot, that are known as what? Class. So this is called class. This is called what? Class. Class selector. This is called class selector. This is called what? Class selector. Right? So let's create a separate class now. Dot blue BL, any name you can write, no problem, like this, but it should be sensitive little bit. Common sense need to be applied. Blue DTD, blue dotted BRD, blue dotted border, right? Border, we can say 2px dotted blue. Similarly, we can create one more class, RD dotted, right? So what we can do now, we can apply class BL DTD BRD. Similarly, we can apply the class over here. Instead of BL, RD DTD BRD. Now go here, refresh it. Can you see this is with blue, this is with red? Correct? How you have selected the elements. Correct?
Yes.
Similarly, let's apply to the button. We can say big button dot big button. If you want to, generally classes are used when there is a reusability. Big button, we can say now font is one of the property. font size larger. Okay, and just go to the button class big hyphen btn, big btn. Now go here and refresh it. Can you see a little bit bigger button? Class selector. So there are basic three types of the selectors. Element selector we have seen, class selector, a dot name of the class, id selector. What is id selector? Code hashtag id name. So every HTML element can be allocated a unique ID. Every HTML element can be allocated a unique ID. See, here we can see an ID selector targets specific element with the unique ID attribute. Now, what do you mean by this? Now, here, instead of writing class to this big button, can you see ID? You can give some unique number, say BT OK, BT OK. This is some any string you can write, no problem. But that should be little bit sensible. BT OK. Can you see ID? IDs are targeted by means of hash BT OK. Right? Hash BT OK. Font size larger. Same thing will happen. Can you see? Just to make a differentiate, we can say font style, or we can say text, or say color, simply color. Color brown, and background color or color we can say white. Background color cadet blue. Can you see? Hello? What do you mean by hash? So whenever, if you write ID over here, and if you want to select this element, you need to write what? Hash. If you have written class over here, and if you want to select this element into the CSS, what you will write? Dot. You have given class over here with the BKBRD, so that you can use this element in a class. So remember that multiple input, multiple elements can have a same class, no problem. Can you see? Multiple elements can have same class. So class is used, technically class is used to apply it to the multiple elements. Just a minute. So let me push this much code first. CSS basic selectors. Well, there are a lot of other ways also for selecting this, and that fall under the CSS3. We will see what do you mean by CSS3 shortly. Okay, now when to use these things? What are the when to use the element selectors? Use cases. If you want to apply some default styles, H2, use cases. When you will use all these things, use cases. First use case, applying the default styles. What do you mean by that? element selectors are often used. Element selectors are often used to apply the default styling to the various HTML elements throughout the website. See, throughout the website. If you want to apply something throughout the website, you will use what? Element selectors. Like background color to the body tag or width and height of the body tag. This should be set only once, correct? Now when to use the class selectors? Here also we can say use cases. Use cases, when you will use this. So no one tells these things when to use these selectors. That is also important. Styling the multiple elements. Styling multiple elements with the similar characteristics. Class selectors are used to apply styles to the group of elements that share some common characteristics. Right? Second use case, creating reusable styles. Creating reusable styles. So if you want to create the reusable styles, class selectors allow you to define. So consider that for your organization, button color is, there is a theme of your organization, right? So as per your theme, you will create the styles or classes, and those you will use everywhere. Like all the buttons should be in a red format, something like that. Hello? So at that time you will use classes. You will create a specific to your organization. So use cases for the ID selectors, unique element styling. Unique element styling. ID unique. See, ID selectors are used to target and style the specific unique elements on the page. Right? Targeting, another use case that presently you don't know, targeting the specific elements for the JavaScript interaction. Presently you don't know. So once we learn the DOM, you will get to know this thing. Let's park this point. Let's park this point for the future purpose. This point we are going to see in detail, right? So remember, these are just few examples where selectors can be used. But by your judgment, as you write quality codes, as per your judgment, you can start using these things. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Any question?
For the class selector and ID selector, also I can use
In embedded. Embedded, you are saying?
yes.
Yeah.
No, use the selector and ID selector.
Uh-huh.
Case selector is applied with paragraph and button the same color.
Okay, you mean to say, can we use properties of this ID inside the class, right? Is that your question?
Yes, sir.
So these properties can be written inside the class, no problem. That can be done. Hello?
Yes, sir.
So that can be done. Or you mean to say, if we apply, now see here you have written the big button, right? ID BTOK, and BTOK is having something like this. And are you saying something like this? What if we apply class over here? Class big button. Is that your question? Which thing would be getting applied? So because BTOK is having some properties, BTOK is having these properties. and big button is also having some properties. And you're asking me question, which thing should be getting applied? So answer to this would be given in the future whenever we learn the specificity. In the CSS there is something called as specificity. At that time you will get to know this thing. But this is a good question actually. If this is your question, if this is ID, has some properties we have written, and this class is also some other properties have been written. So which effect this button would be having, right? So answer to this question would be given in the topic called as specificity. We are going to learn one topic, specificity. Okay. So today what we have seen, if you see carefully, we have seen types of CSS and we have seen types of CSS selectors, right? Now just a minute. Just a minute. Now I need to give some homework. You need to practice.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's go to the homework section. Day 6. Day 6. Questions related to CSS. First question, define the element selector. Define the element selector to make all headings H1 to H6 on the web page bold and centered. Okay, create a class called as info box. Create a class called as info box and apply the border background color and padding to the elements with the class. You don't know padding, but still try it. Tomorrow we are going to see something called as box model. So here use ID selector to change the font color of the specific paragraph with the ID special paragraph to red. Style all the links inside the nav element. Style all the links inside the nav element. Style all the links inside nav element differently from the links elsewhere on the page. Right? There should have some different thing.
Different links means
Normal links. So these are the navigation links and the normal links. Apply custom font family to all the divs. So I don't think you can do this thing, but try it. Apply the custom font to all the paragraphs within the divs. Within the divs with the class name text block. No, you can do this. Background attribute, set the background attribute. See here, set the background attribute, background image for the specific section with the ID hero section and make it cover entire section. Border attributes, you need to apply the dashed border to button with the class dashed button and adjust the border width and color. Text attribute, change the text alignment to the justified for all paragraphs within the divs with the class paragraph container. Okay, now we are going to talk these points, few things tomorrow, but still I'm giving you homework. Set a fixed width and height for a div with the ID square box to create the perfect square. So these many questions you have. You need to solve these many questions till tomorrow. And you need to push the code. Okay? Yeah. And,
Sir,
yeah.
in the link, the trace, what is the name?
Say that again.
REL.
REL is a relationship. If you see, what is the relationship of this file, selector.css file, with this current page? What is the relationship of this selector, this file, right, with the current page? Current page is selectors.html. Selectors.html is the current page. What is the relationship of this selectors.css with the selectors.html? Style sheet. So this file is what? Selector.css work as a style sheet for selectors.html. Selectors.css works as the style sheet for selectors.html. Is it clear? So CSS selectors understood. Now still we have not seen what is the CSS3. So we have seen the meaning of CSS, but we didn't see meaning of this 3. We will see day after tomorrow or tomorrow. Okay? Hello? Yeah. So that's it from my end for today's session. We will meet tomorrow with some more things on the CSS. But complete the homework by tomorrow. Thank you. Let's call it for a day. We'll meet tomorrow. Yeah. Thank you. I'm disconnecting.